thanks everybody for joining us for another executive board update. Lee, I think what we'll do is we'll jump straight into it, and can we just have an update on things how they are at the club?
Yeah, I think Tom, we're in decent shape. I think we're on the plan that I've talked about before when I've made these addresses. We're pretty much in line with that plan that we set ourselves throughout the lockdown period. Things have picked up a little bit. The market's now active again. There's signs of constant events coming back, though I wouldn't want to, it's not as it was before lockdown, but the signs of life, I'd put it that way. The new kit launch has given us a boost. More of that. I'm sure Dan will comment about that later on, but that was a big success. And, I'd like to thank everyone for standing there yesterday for, quite a period of time as we had to deal with the kit launch through COVID security, which is not easy, but that was a great success. And, the other things that I'm pleased about is we know COVID secure the training ground. We're becoming COVID secure at the stadium. So a lot of progress, and overall the club remains in pretty decent shape considering what we're battling against. And so I'm not being kept awake at the moment, Tom. So we're okay.
And on one of those points there that Lee's just mentioned, Dan, the kit launch yesterday, there was a queue for the majority of the day. How pleased are you with how that's gone down and how well it's been received?
Really pleased, Tom. Really pleased with the way it's been received. The supporters have really taken to the new designs, which is a nod to our tradition. The home kit, something that we wore in the late 70s and early 80s, and the away kit representing the white, red, white, and also taking to the colours of the Black Country flag. And as I sit here today, is Happy Black Country Day, so Happy Black Country Day to you all. But we listened to the supporters, and the supporters have really taken the kit on board and taken it into the hearts, and hopefully it'll be one of the best selling kits that we've ever had. And the initial sales are forecasts are that we're going to be there or thereabouts in terms of numbers. A big thank you to you and the comms team for the way in which we launched. I thought it was phenomenal, and a big thank you to Blue Chili for the artwork that they put together and really encapsulated everything that we wanted to get across, which is that we are the club of the Black Country.
And like you say there, that the way that it's been received and income from that sort of thing, it can only be a positive for us, really, Steph, can't it? Having that boost of income from something like the kit launch.
Yeah, of course. Well, we've gone through a very difficult period from March the 23rd when lockdown came into force. Our income streams were effectively switched off. There was no football, there was no competition events. It literally overnight, everything switched off. So we've had to work very hard to get through the last 3 or 4 months and get to this stage where last Monday, July the 6th, we provisionally opened the stadium on a skeleton staff. We've got members of the office staff in now on a rota basis to try and build the business back up again. As the chairman mentioned, the market started early June, which is a fantastic revenue stream for us. And then obviously the ticket office and the shop have been open over the last couple of days. And the response that we've had has been brilliant, as both Dan and the chairman have mentioned. But what that means for the club is obviously it generates fantastic revenue for us at a time where we're really limited in what we can generate because we're not selling tickets for matches. There are some green shoots with the conference events, but we're not realising sales or receiving money in respect of that area of the business at this moment in time. So things like the shirts sales is absolutely crucial to the business, and we're not in bad place, but this stuff really helps.
When we talk about income streams, Lee, are there any updates that the EFL have given you as to indications of when we might be back in training, when the fixtures might come out, a return to football altogether?
Well, we're putting the EFL under a lot of pressure. We're not the only club to finalise the dates of the start. I can give you indications. I can't give you final decisions at this stage. I think we'll be playing football by the end of August or probably September the 12th. They are not decisions. Let me let me make that very clear. They're indications of the likelihood that we'll be playing football around that time. Now, we don't know yet whether that'll be in front of crowds, behind closed doors, on iFollow. So we're working through that. But we are preparing the stadium for crowds around that period of time. But we still don't know officially whether we'll be playing football then or not. But the indications are that we'll be playing towards the end of August, September the 12th, would be the likely days at this stage. But as I stress, I'm not sure yet whether that's going to be in front of crowds or not, but we are preparing the stadium for that possibility.
And I think, Dan, one of those things there where if we do have an indication of a date, that means that, you know, we can start moving forward with planning of the players safely returning to training, and then we can start a pre-season regime, can't we?
Yeah, I mean, the plans have come to fruition in terms of we've got the training ground ready and secure for the return of the players and staff. That document has been worked on. We submit to the EFL once we just know, as the chairman rightly points out, that the start date of the season, to then have a date for the players to physically return. But the documentation and the implementation of the COVID secure training ground, that body of work has been completed. We're simply awaiting the date, and then obviously where we are in terms of the testing regime. The indications that will be reduced to perhaps one or symptomatic testing only. So until we get that information from the Football League, we can't complete our COVID-19 protocol at the training ground. Once we have that, we simply add the testing element in, submit to the EFL, and the return of the players safely can begin.
You know, and I think, Steph, almost one of the things that Lee mentioned there is that we have been, you know, working towards fans possibly being in the stadium when the season restarts. Can you talk us through, you know, how that planning's coming about? You know, what's Laura doing in the ticket office to make sure, you know, that if that can happen, you know, we'll be ready for it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're having to work a little bit in the blind because there's not a huge amount of guidance. But the guidance that we have from the government and from the SGSA enables us to map the stadium out, socially distancing supporters, and using the whole stadium bowl to get a crowd. You know, what we're looking at is potentially a crowd of between 3,000 and 4,000, which, you know, would mean we'll be able to get all the season ticket holders in. There may not be room for away fans, we don't know yet, but we may have to use all stands available to us. But that work is underway. It's a big body of work, but we are well down the road with that. But again, as I say, we are waiting on specific guidance from the authorities. Nevertheless, you know, when that does come, we're going to be in a very good place to be able to implement that. And, you know, the feeling that we have is that if we're given the green light, everyone that wants to come and watch Walsall Football Club will be able to do so, albeit, you know, we might be operating on a limited capacity. But we're very positive in that respect, and there's some real positive vibes coming out of the EFL that emanates from their discussions with government. You know, it's I think you've seen that open air theatres have had the go ahead and things like that. So it's not dissimilar to that. I'm probably underplaying how complex it actually is to perhaps get 3,000 or 4,000 people in, but it's something that once given the green light, we're confident that we'll be able to do in a safe way. So FAT supporters can return to the stadiums and watch the team they love. You know, it's been 6 months. You know, come September, that's a long time for anyone to miss out on football. So, you know, when we get the green light, we'll be ready to go ahead. And the work is ongoing, Tom.
Lee, and that can only be a positive, really, for us to have a stadium that is able to house between 3,000 and 4,000 people, really, because, you know, some teams, you know, around the country in our division aren't as fortunate as us to have a fantastic stadium like we've got.
No, we are fortunate. I mean, I think, you know, it's the likelihood, again, but I don't know this for a fact yet, that we'll be limited our capacity to 3,500, 4,000. We can deal with that quite comfortably in our stadium. Unfortunately, for the wrong reasons, in some respects. I mean, as people would know, I'd prefer us to have a problem where we couldn't contain everybody that wanted to come and watch Walsall. But I think, as Steph says, we're in good shape to welcome fans back when we are given the green light to do so. And a lot of work has been done to achieve that. But, we're waiting for the government to make their decision. And, if there's a second spike of coronavirus, those plans will be put on ice. I have no doubt about that. So, but if we carry on making the progress we're making, I'm hopeful that we'll be playing in September.
And Dan, if fans can come back to the stadium now, in safer surroundings, the community hub, are we expecting that to be completed by September? Have we got any more updates on how that's coming along?
The answer is yes, Tom. Yeah, the hub will be completed by September, if not well before. So that project is almost at completion now. So the build has slowed down because of COVID, and obviously the way that the builders are having to work is very much in line with government protocol. But the build will be there or thereabouts. Whether when supporters come back into the stadium, the use of all the bar facilities will be open is again a question mark. We're as an exec board, we're looking at what's happening around the world, not just around the UK. So we're looking at what's going on in Denmark, what's going on in La Liga, etc. in terms of supporters entering the stadium, watching the game and then departing. Hopefully, as time moves on, they'll be able to use the bar facilities, use the stadium suite, use the Bonza suite. So the community hub will be complete and ready for action as soon as we are allowed to open.
Yeah, just on that, if I could just add, sorry, Tom. There's a lot of work going on within the hospitality areas and across the stadium with a view to making the stadium cashless moving forward. Number one, because it's far more hygienic. There's not cash changing hands, there's not cars changing hands. So from the COVID perspective, it will be a lot more, a lot safer. But also just moving with the times, to not have so much cash on the premises, to go cardless. I think that's just something we as a venue need to move forward, and I think we'll see that as a real positive. It will speed queues up, at kiosks and so on and so forth. So when we do have the green light to open everything back up fully, we're going to be in a pretty good place compared to pre-COVID. So that was just something I thought I'd throw in there.
That's perfect. And I think one of the things that a lot of fans will probably ask, I think this is something that all three of you could probably pitch on in, is that despite the lack of income for us, the Premier League are now voting on an extension of the transfer window, a 2-week period at the end of it where EFL clubs can, take players from Premier League teams, that it gives EFL clubs the opportunity. Are Walsall Football Club going to be in a position where, we can continue to be competitive in this sort of market that's going to be something that no club has ever experienced before?
Yes, I mean, we are. I think we're going to be as competitive this year as we've ever been in any year. I think because COVID-19 is a great leveller of football clubs. Some clubs that have behaved in certain ways in the past will not be able to do that in the future. It's going to be a great leveller, and I think in many respects we'll be in a more competitive position than we've been, certainly in my time being associated with the club. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think, as I mentioned the last time we got together, I think we've got a squad now of 18 players already. I would expect that to be increased by another 5, 6 players to make us really ready for the new season. And Darryl and I speak regularly about what he's looking for. He knows what the budget is. We've told him. So he's taking his time. He's being very thoughtful about it. He knows the positions. He knows what he's after, and he can go and obviously within reason, he can go and do it. So I mentioned before, I'm really looking forward to the next season because I think we'll be really good.
And Dan, I think one of the things that Darryl was going to be joining us today, but we've got a meeting with a live Q&A session with him and Captain James Clark. It's important to keep up those sort of communications between the first team staff and players into the fans because it helps unite the club even more.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we've been committed to communication. It's something that the chairman quite rightly looked at when he took ownership of the football club, and we've been committed to it ever since. And I think the work that we've done, both as a club, as an exec board, as individual players and staff, has been excellent during this period of lockdown. And like you rightly say, Darryl and James Clark will be hosting a Zoom sporting dinner, such as this new norm that we're into now. So that'll be really interesting to see how that goes down next Thursday. I think it's £5 to watch, and obviously all the income comes back into the football club. So from our point of view, that'll be really positive to get Darryl and James talking about. Hopefully by then we'll have some more information about the start of the new season and those questions that the fans want to ask about. Who we're going to sign, what we're going to do, what do we think of the season, and all those interesting questions that we normally have during pre-season can be answered by the men who matter, the captain and the manager. And
Lee, I think on a final note, can we just have a message of encouragement, a thanks to the fans, because they have, like we've mentioned in all of our meetings before, have been superb during this lockdown period.
Well, they really have, and I welcome the opportunity to thank the fans. Every opportunity I get, I'm gonna take it, because whether it's season tickets or shirts or new kit, or just good wishes that have been sent through to the club, have been, tremendous. And I think it's interesting, isn't it, how a crisis of this sort galvanises the club together more than it's been in many years, and the goodwill in the club is fantastic, and it takes you a long way, Tom. If the goodwill in the club is there, and you get all the fans together and everyone pointing in the right direction, it will take you a long way. And that's why I said in my last comment that I'm really looking forward to this season, not because I miss football so much anyway, but I just think we're on the verge of something a bit special, and I'm confident for us to kick off. And I thank everyone. I'm hoping the stadium won't be big enough when everyone gets the opportunity to come back and watch Walsall again, because I think it'll be quite an exciting time. And we have the makings of a pretty damn good team. So I'm very positive. I'm looking forward to it very much. And again, I thank everyone for the way they've responded to the challenges that we've all faced over the last 3 or 4 months. It's been great.
And on that note, I'd like to thank the three of you for joining me again. And I'm sure we'll be doing another one of these in a couple of weeks' time when we get a bit more indication on what's happening with the new season. Yeah, and Tom, on that, I mean, it's important when we get the final indication of when we can start, we'll have a communication with the supporters so they know what they're walking into. Mm-hmm. The stadium experience will be different. It won't necessarily be any less pleasurable, but it'll be different. And we will take the time to make sure that people know what we expect of them when they enter the stadium post-COVID times, because it will be different, but we'll make sure that we explain to them how different it will have to be.